The man was reading in his cell when he heard the warden and guards approaching. Panicked, as his book hid an escape hammer, he stayed calm while the guards searched the cell, missing the book in his hands. Before leaving, the warden noticed the book, took it, and asked Andy with interest which passage he liked most. John is a banker. He discovers his wife is cheating. He hides in the car and drinks. Later, his wife is shot and killed. John is the main suspect. His fingerprints are on the gun at the scene. All evidence points to this innocent man. But John cannot find evidence to prove innocence. John's murder charge is unavoidable. The judge gives him 2 life terms, meaning he'll spend life in prison. In this prison, Red has served 20 years. Today he requests parole. Red is a prison elder, a respected figure. He's very resourceful, can get prisoners white wine, peanuts and seeds, lighters, cigarettes, and more. If you have money, he can help. Today, new inmates arrive. Among them is John. When they exit the bus, the inmates cheer at the newcomers. All are excited. John remains indifferent. Red and cellmates start gambling, betting cigarettes, to guess who cracks first. Who will break tonight? Most bet on the fat guy. Only Red bets on John. John looks frail. So weak and fragile. After entering prison, after passing wary and training, all must be cleaned. Then they enter cells in uniform. On the newcomer's first night, the old prisoners tease the new arrival. After being teased, the fat guy loses control. Starts crying loudly. This caused a bet. Inmates bet on his win. His crying drew the guards. The guards beat him brutally. John, who bet, stays calm. He lost 2 packs just because of this. Red starts paying attention to John. The next day, inmates talk. The fat guy who was beaten died. He didn't survive. John wanted to ask his name, but was scolded by the inmates. Doesn't matter, he's dead. Despite the scolding, John believes the dead deserve respect. Only Red saw this. That day, Matthew approached John. John left with disdain. He keeps to himself, rarely interacts with others, lost in his own world. A month later, he found Red. He asked Red for a hammer. Red was surprised, thought he wanted to escape. Red laughed, thinking it'd take 600 years. John got the hammer, but had a hard time after. Matthew and others surrounded him. Matthew asked him to be his girlfriend. John refused. He was beaten by 3 men. From then on, Matthew found him often. John resisted, but always looked heartbroken. Although he resisted every time, but after each resistance, he had a heartbroken face. Wary recruited 12 prisoners to repair the roof. Red used cigarettes to help John. John worked with them. During the work period, John overheard the guards. They wanted a new car, but taxes were too high. John thought it was a perfect chance for him. John approached the guards. It scared Red and the others. The guards were frightened. The captain grabbed him, pushed him to the roof's edge. John offered to help escape without paying taxes, and it would be legal. The condition was free beer. Because John was a banker, the captain believed him. The prisoners drank beer at sunset. It felt like home. Relaxed on the rooftop. Leisurely, John sat alone, smiling. He was reminiscing. Red noticed it. He thought of the outside world. After this, John gained respect. But the Huang sisters harassed him. John was different. He was beaten again. This time he was beaten severely again. The captain punished Huang Bao. He could only live on the rooftop. The prisoners saw the captain's protection. From then on, no one bullied John. John returned to his cell. Red gave him a poster. It helped with his escape plan. The wary inspected the prison. John held a Bible. The wary noticed it. He was also Christian. He asked John about it. John recited it by heart. The wary approved him. Even with the contraband poster, the wary excused it. He made an exception. The wary called John to his office. He assigned him library work. This was convenient to help him with his tax issues. Thus, the library became John's office. He was called. More guards came to help because they were too busy. He asked Red for help. Red was happy to help. It was a light task. That day John applied to Wary to remodel the library. But Wary said, funds can only reinforce the cells. Strengthen cells, add guards. For improvements, he had to apply to the government. From then, John wrote weekly letters to apply for funds, but never received a reply. Old Bull from the library took a knife, pressed it to a cellmate's neck. Only John's persuasion made him let go. Old Bull, after 50 years in prison, was to be released. He didn't want to go, wanted to commit crimes again to stay in prison. The outside world scared him. 50 years in prison had isolated him from society. But after John's talk, he still walked out of prison. While working in a supermarket, the manager bullied him. His loneliness. Old Bull chose to end his life. Ended his life in prison. John spent 6 years writing letters. The government finally agreed. Sent old books and $200. While reading, he found a vinyl record. When the guards were away, he locked the door. Through the broadcast, he played music throughout Shawshank. Inmates enjoyed the long-lost music. John savored the moment of freedom. Because of this, John was confined for half a month. After coming out, his fellow inmates laughed, saying it wasn't worth being locked up just for music. He told them to always keep hope in their hearts. There are worlds not made of stone, unreachable and untouchable. They can't reach it. They can't touch it. Talking about. Through John's persistence, he applied for a $500 annual grant. His transformation made the prison library everyone's favorite spot to collect more illicit money. The Wary led prisoners to work outside. John laundered money through stocks, insurance, and securities. He cleaned it, depositing it into a fake account. Even if someone investigates, it can't be traced. The Wary was satisfied. Until one day, a new curly-haired inmate arrived. He was outspoken. He boasted about what he'd seen and heard. He spoke with John. He mentioned an inmate who killed a couple and framed a banker. John's face changed. Wasn't this his own case? The inmate had killed a man and woman and framed a banker, making him a scapegoat. To shift blame, John's face changed instantly. Wasn't this his case? John rushed to find the Wary to explain the situation. He asked for help to appeal, but Wary refused. He wanted John to help launder money. John understood Wary's plan. He promised to stay quiet about Wary's crimes. This angered Wary. He isolated John for a month. During this time, Wary sent the curly-haired inmate to the wild, and his men watched him. This way, no one could testify against John. He would be free of worries. Then Wary told John not to spread rumors. The curly-haired inmate's death meant execution. Continue helping me in this crisis. John had no choice but to assist Wary. But Wary didn't know John's escape plan was ready. He met Red and made a deal. Once Red is out, he will go to a ranch in Buxington. Under the tree, a black stone lies. Something is hidden under the stone. Red asked what it was. You'll know when the time comes. John, in the Wary's office, handled the Wary's illegal money dealings. Something big was coming. The Wary noticed nothing. John, as usual, put the documents in the safe. He polished the Wary's shoes. Tonight, he would carry out his 19-year escape plan. On the way to his cell, John glanced at Red and bid him farewell. That night, a thunderstorm hit. Red sat by his bed, uneasy. He feared John would lose hope like his wife. The next morning, during roll call, everyone was present. Except John was gone. The guards checked. They were shocked. The cells were empty. The Wary rushed over. He asked how the inmates disappeared. Without a trace. The Wary called Red. But Red knew nothing. He was also very confused. At this moment, the Wary went crazy. He grabbed a stone and threw it at Red. Then he smashed the walls wildly. But with this, he stunned everyone with his actions. The poster was smashed, creating a hole. The Wary was shocked after tearing the poster open, because there was a tunnel behind it. John had escaped through the tunnel. They finally realized the Wary sent people to chase him, but they only found his sports uniform and a small hammer. This is what Red said. Digging a tunnel with this hammer would take 600 years. What they didn't know was, John took only 19 years. Every night, using this hammer, and the posters Red sent him, he dug the passage. During the day, he cleared the rubble on the playground. With persistence, he dug for 19 years straight. That very night, he returned to his cell wearing polished shoes. He put Yu Chang's ledger in a plastic bag. After preparations, he entered the abandoned tunnel. Behind was a sewage pipe. He picked up a stone. Under the thunder's cover, he struck the pipe repeatedly, breaking it open. He crawled under the foul-smelling pipe. The pipe was as long as 5 football fields. Finally, with determination, he escaped successfully. John took off his sports uniform and opened his arms, embracing freedom in the rain. John walked into a bank. Using a fictitious identity, he withdrew the Wary's illicit money and then deposited all evidence of the Wary's crimes into the bank. After discovery, they reported it to the police. The police came to arrest the Wary. He didn't want to go to jail. Ultimately, he committed suicide by shooting himself. A few months later, Red received a postcard. Though his name wasn't on it, he knew it was from John. John's story spread throughout Shawshank Prison. Everyone was happy for him. And so, John became a renowned figure in the prison. That year, it was Red's parole day again. After 40 years, he finally got parole. With heartfelt emotions, he left the prison. He arrived at the oak tree where John had agreed. After searching the tree wall, he dug up a letter and some US dollars. The letter had John's exact location. Red followed the address. He found John at the seaside. After meeting, they smiled at each other. Just as John had told him. No matter when, always keep hope in your heart. Sunlight shines on the horizon, as if free people know it's within.